Welcome to Rising Tide Startups, where today's most exciting solopreneurs share their startup stories. They also deliver tangible strategies that they would implement personally if starting their business over today. Each episode is a startup masterclass. Make sure you take notes. Take it away, Kevin.
Welcome to another edition of Rising Tide Startups. My guest today is Josh Fonger. Josh, thanks for joining us on Rising Tide.
Glad to be here.
It's good to have you. And like I'm trying to introduce guests recently, I want to take a little unique approach on how we do that. If you and I were at a business networking event, how would you introduce yourself to me?
Good question. It's been a while since I've done that because of COVID, right? It's always online.
That's right.
Well, I'd probably be carrying one of these books for those watching the video, book Work the System. And I would say I'm the purveyor of the Work the System method. So I help business owners that are stuck in their business, stuck in the day-to-day, help them get freedom by working out of their business and then eventually owning a business and being able to control and manage the systems that make up their business.
Now, this system was developed by a former mentor, or who developed the system?
Yeah, so the author of the book, Sam Carpenter, he and I worked together for over 10 years now. He's in his 70s, and he detailed the transformation that happened in his life in a business he still owns today. It's called Centratel. And people just love the book. It's in its 4th edition. And the reason why is because it's real life. It's very pragmatic. It's very practical. It's basically taking the book, The E-Myth, and just showing, like, what does someone actually have to do to systemize their business. And so Sam Carpenter goes through the kind of shift in mindset. He really started to see the world differently. It's like a new awakening that we want all of our clients to get. It's called the systems mindset. And then once they have this, then what do you actually need to do? You need to have some core documentation done. We call it the strategic objective and the general operating principles. And then once you have that done as a leader, how do you go from always doing all the work to growing a team that will actually do the work for you, a self-managing business? And to any entrepreneur, it's pretty appealing, both because they're so stuck in the fires each day, and also because they want to make a bigger impact. They want to be able to grow, but they just don't know how. And so we teach people how to do that. We walk them through the different steps, and then hopefully document the systems of the business, and bigger impact, more freedom, and it's just really fun work.
So more or less a practical approach to working on your business versus working in it. That's kind of the basic tagline of the E-Myth.
Yeah. Maybe we'll take that line and put it on our website. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I think that's already copyrighted.
Okay.
I didn't come up with it. Yeah. So, but I can't remember if you mentioned this or not in your very first intro. But did you tell people where you are?
Oh yeah. So right now I work out of Kauai. Yeah. So we have 4 kids, and we're just kind of living the dream right now. It's been a good shift. We used to be in Scottsdale, Arizona, but tried to get out of the city a little bit, and it's one of the I guess one of the shifts that happened during the whole COVID things is realizing that all of the consulting, all the coaching, all the training, all the events we're doing have been virtual for so many years that it gives us a lot of autonomy in terms of where we can live. So that's where we live.
Before we hit the record button, Josh and I were chatting just real quickly. He mentioned something about, telling his kids, I'm sorry, this is the most beautiful place you'll ever see. So there's nothing else, there's nowhere else to go that is going to be more beautiful than where you're viewing right now.
Yeah, well, that's the blessing and curse, right? Of seeing the Nepali coast, right? Is you kind of get to enjoy that. So it's been fun. It's been a fun adventure so far.
I mean, there's a reason that Kauai is called the Garden Isle. I mean, it's because it is stunningly beautiful. And the one time that I actually visited there, but then I've traveled virtually all over the world, and I don't know that I've seen a place that is more stunningly beautiful than where you're sitting right now. But I'm curious about kind of the journey that led you to start working with Sam, and how you kind of like bought into the system, full on. And so walk us through that a little bit. What were you doing before that kind of led you to him?
Yeah, definitely. I'll try to do the snapshot as much as I can. Undergraduate degrees in architecture, wanted to be a real estate developer, worked for a number of developers, and then got laid off in that industry 2008-ish,
Along
when
with
everyone was,
thousands of other people. Yeah.
yeah, and I could not find a job, even though I got my master's in business, couldn't find a job unless I wanted to take, like an 80% pay cut.
Mm.
And and I couldn't find any work, and I had a few kids at the time, and so it was a big challenge. Basically, lost everything, lost house, car, everything, savings, and had to kind of start from square one, living in my in-laws' condo. And at that point, um, the only thing I could get was becoming a business consultant with somebody who was willing to take a chance on me, and essentially, I would be independent. If I hunted and killed and some client hunting out there, then I could get a portion of that revenue. So I was very hungry to get some money in the door, and so I became a business consultant, which is exactly what I didn't want to become. Wrote my thesis paper and when I was doing my MBA about why you shouldn't hire a business consultant. And I was kind of an anti-business consultant. My dad was anti-business consultant. Same with my father-in-law. They both had bad experiences with him, and so it really just was not my plan or goal in life. Yeah, but that was the only place I could get paid and hired. So I did that for a number of years and did what a lot of people do, which is take whatever will come your way and do whatever someone will ask. So I was flying from city to state all over the country, working with flooring store owners. And so whether they needed a cultural redesign or they needed a financial plan or they're going through bankruptcy or we had to build some merchandising dashboards or, you name it, sales management training, I would just fly out there and train them in whatever and figure it out because I needed the money and also I didn't know any better. And so as a business consultant, I was just pretty ragged
Mm.
and reading books all the time, trying to figure out how to help these clients and really enjoying the work and really enjoying the impact and really enjoying solving complex business problems. And so I really um, did well with it. Surprisingly, the guy who hired me said, "I never thought you'd last," and but I ended up really enjoying the work and building some good relationships along the way. And but what I didn't realize was that the work I was doing wasn't sticking. So which really hit home when I first clients that we transformed through this bankruptcy and just saved this business. I thought it was a great success. Um, I looked up on LinkedIn several years later, and that business had gone out of business, and he was like a salesperson. So he was in his 60s, and now he was doing the same job he did in his 20s, not a business owner, just a salesperson on the floor of a flooring store company. And I realized, what did I miss? Because it seemed like everything was going
Yeah.
great. And the piece that we missed is that we never actually documented the systems. We never documented the solutions. We never actually took what the transformation was and put it into the infrastructure of the business so that it would last and so that it would scale beyond the owner. It really would just, we solved the problem, but the problem came back. And when I met Sam Carpenter, he opened my eyes to a new way of running a business that was based on actually building up this infrastructure, building up these systems. And I really caught hold of this systems mindset, which is not just chasing results, but instead building the systems that will lead to the results. And that's where you want to spend your attention, your focus, your energy, because that's really what's going to allow your ideas to scale beyond you and make the biggest impact. And so once I caught hold of the book, I was living in Bend, Oregon at the time,
Hmm.
met him for coffee. There was no consulting or coaching associated with this book. It was just a book people liked, first edition. And so he and I decided we should actually do some consulting work because people were calling him, and he was like, "I'm not going to do any consulting work. I don't need the money, and I'm not a consultant." And so um, we just did some experimental jobs, and so that was the rest is history. I just did some clients with him, and then turned into more clients and the coaching and the courses and the programs and live events and all. I mean, you name it. We've been doing it in this particular arena for over 10 years, and now we in the last few years certifying other consultants. So now people who like the book and want to be a consultant like me, then I teach them, certify them, train them, license them, and then they have licensed the material so they can go help companies in there and around the world and then in different industries. So it's been quite the ride.
See, I was mistaken. I assumed, I guess I thought it just maybe listened to another interview you had done and just listened to a portion of that. I thought that you got into consulting by your relationship with Sam, but you were already in the business before that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was deep in it, and it was killing me. I mean, literally, I mean, I would be flying, from one city to the next to the next city, and never home, and it was something I wanted to get out of. But yeah, meeting Sam is a whole different approach, a whole different way to make an impact, and with the ability to do more and more work over the internet,
Hmm.
and it just became what it is today, which is a lot more flexibility, free time, and you can help people around the world. So
Right.
it's been a big shift.
So another question that came to mind, earlier this afternoon when I was just kind of thinking about, some thoughts around what I was wanting to ask you, and um, so often when you find somebody that is, I hate the term, but it's almost like a guru, and you're like going, you know what, I love the system, I love the process, I love what they teach. I'm gonna buy in. But you get inside and you think, okay, I can buy into 92% of this, but there's 8% of it that, I want to kind of morph a little bit and kind of mold, in my image a little bit, or add my own flavor to this. How much adaptation did you do, or have you done, in that, quote, the basic system, to kind of make it your own?
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, good question. And there's been seasons of well, this is my natural human flaw. Is I like to experiment things. I like to try new things. I like to
I think it
innovate
may
on
be a
things.
strength.
Well, I don't know. You can waste a lot of money and time. Um, and so I went through all sorts of different rabbit trails with the work system method, applying to all sorts of different arenas. And what I keep coming back to as I'm rereading the book again for the 30th time is that the fundamentals are there. This works. This is a recipe. And whenever you add in new ingredients and new ideas, you're you're diluting the core of what really has stood the test of time and has made the biggest impact. And so over the
Hmm.
years, we've tried all sorts of different approaches and techniques and add-ons, and the newest this and the newest idea there. But really, when I look back to all the most success we've had, the biggest impact, and staying true to why people even come to us in the first place, is really just stick with the fundamentals, stick with the core leadership qualities that Sam describes in the book, which he used. I mean, the book's in its fourth edition now, to fix his business. And there's no need to get caught up in the newest and the shiniest object, because
Hmm.
those ended up diluting things. And so I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, really trying to infuse Josh's newest idea into things, and realizing that in the end, um, it's not as effective. And so we've really tried to keep it the main thing, the
Hmm.
framework, the main thing,
Right.
and realizing that um, if they don't, get these pieces, it doesn't matter what tangential, tactical advice I give them that might boost their sales for a month. They're not going to really have the transformative, scalable, self-managing business that they came there for. And so we've tried to really push it back towards the book, back towards the method that's there,
Hmm.
and um, that is a challenge for my personality, but it ends up being the best way to help companies.
Yeah, I think I was thinking more in terms of, not changing the structure, or the just the basic framework of the process, but maybe more contextualizing it a little bit,
Hmm.
or kind of adding your own examples, or, maybe even modernizing it. I mean, if,
Hmm.
let's say the book was written 15 years ago, I mean, just, you might even be terminology that might be completely different.
Uh-huh.
There was no crypto coin, 15 years ago, that would have any impact at all in the delivery of this, but just are examples you might use. So
I,
I was thinking more in that frame.
Okay. Well, yeah. In that frame, yeah, we're always updating our courses and programs, and using different examples. We have had cryptocurrency traders and blog writers go through our
Hmm.
courses. I mean, you name it. Whether the industry is, a hair salon, or the industry is a SaaS company, that's a startup. We've had all sorts of varieties of people. We had a dairy farmer in Transylvania go through the program, and we've had people who are, just attorneys in Los Angeles. So you name it. We contextualize. We let the client bring the context, I guess I'd put it that way.
Yeah.
So when they say, hey, I'm a chiropractor in Toronto, okay, that's the context. Now here's the framework, and let's extract from your brain the direction you want to go, the principles you want to have, and the processes, and then let's put it into this framework so that you can build, kind of build the business of your dreams instead of just have it in your dreams and therefore it never actually happens. And so yeah, there's a lot of context building, but we try to let the client bring their own paint for that, and then we just help them put it in the right spots.
So you initially were working with Sam, and you transitioned out on your own. I think you actually say on the website, with kind of his full blessing, to kind of step out in the
Yep.
on your own. So talk about the reasons behind that kind of transition. I mean, it makes perfect sense why you might want to, but talk about that transition, some of the things that think might work, didn't work type thing, or the struggles you may have gone through, and then I want to kind of drill down in that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Those are some. Um, well, I think that for business owners where they have partners, it's always good that you're fully aligned, right? And Sam Carpenter and I are fully aligned on what works to change companies, but in terms of goals for our lives, we have different ones, right? So Sam, he's the age of my father, maybe even a little bit older than that, and so he already has all the money he needs, all the time he needs, and he really gets to expound on theory, his ideas. He was heavily involved in politics for 7 years, probably 6 years, and so that's really great. And for him to have the freedom to express himself, to get engaged with people online or around the world in whatever way he wants to, um, he should do that, right? Because he's him, right?
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I'm very different, right? Like I'm trying to specifically work with entrepreneurs on fixing their business. So that's where my content and desire and emotion and advertising, everything is towards that. And then also um, certifying new consultants in the methodology and supporting them. So it's all about coaching, training, advertising to grow more of an audience of the particular book. And so we just realized, what, we're both at very kind of tangential, but things that actually relate. And Sam's got a software company as well, where it's all about documentation. So wouldn't it be better if we just had different companies that had different strategic objectives, different goals, but we're all friends. We all can help each other. We can scratch each other's backs. We can support each other in each of our endeavors without having to try to smash it all into one company, because then it's just confusing for people who may subscribe or follow. And so there's a lot of overlap between WTS Enterprises, which is my company, and Work the System, which is Sam's company. And this has been a really nice transition, a nice fit, as opposed to, I want to send a message about, sign up for my program. And Sam's like, I want to send a message about walking the dogs and how you can see the systems in the
Exactly.
trees.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
both related, but yeah, they're just different. And so it's been a really good shift, and that's pretty new. Maybe in the last year or two, we've been really making that transition with the brand, so that it has long-term legacy.
And I can't imagine you would ever talk your family into moving from Kauai to Eastern Kentucky. I mean, or I mean,
Probably
that might be a
not.
hard sell.
Probably not.
You
But
know,
there's beauty everywhere. Like we loved Oregon. I grew up in Michigan. Loved Michigan.
yeah,
Arizona's been great. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful spots, and so I think that yeah, it's good to enjoy where you are. Wherever you
yeah,
are, you can
no doubt
enjoy it, and
about
it
it.
ultimately comes down to the people that are there. And so um, yeah, so you can make the most anywhere. And so I watch Sam's videos when he's in um, Eastern Kentucky, and it looks great there. Out in the woods, on the trails, in the mountains there. It's great. So
There you are. That is exactly right, Josh. And I appreciate your the kind of the approach you're taking of that surround yourself with good people, enjoy wherever God's placed you, and the whole kind of the story behind that. But I am curious, like you've worked with Sam, you probably worked with other great mentors and in your life, and you've probably mentored others. So I want to take just a moment and just really focus on kind of what we call a mentor moment during each Rising Tide interview. And I just want you to kind of just briefly talk about one or two things that you wish you would have known when you kind of stepped out on your own, or that you think would really be germane for founders to know, that would really be game changers, that would really help them build that foundation for success from the very beginning.
Hmm. Well, I wish I had a half hour to think about that, so I could give really, really profound wisdom. I think that the probably two things that maybe go against each other. One is that if you are a new entrepreneur, a new founder, you have to not be afraid of failure.
Mm,
So, as in, and what I mean by that is let the market tell you. So, put it out there, put out this, put it that, put out a million different things, and don't try to figure it out in your brain. Don't try to figure it out in your head. Don't try to figure it out on paper. You have to, you have to put it out there into the market and let the market tell you what they want and learn from the market. And so, um, I wasted a lot of time trying to be so strategic and so researched and so prepared for so many different things that never materialized or didn't matter or didn't actually wasn't the wrong it was the wrong direction, the wrong
mm,
offer, or the wrong thing. And so don't do that. Just be human. Hey, we're doing
yeah.
this thing. I think it's going to be great. Okay, no one responds. Wasn't a great thing. Move on to the next thing. We're doing this other thing that's going to be really great. And so you have to, especially for new founders, is don't let your financial projections or your business models or any of those tell you what's going to happen. You just have to go out there and do it and be okay with lots of failures. And people appreciate that and they expect that. And as long as you're authentic and genuine the whole way through, no one's going to get upset at you for trying to provide value. I think
Hmm.
that's probably one thing that maybe help a lot of people who are like, well, I'm not really sure. Well, put it out there, and then you'll be sure soon. And then counterintuitive and kind of the opposite of that is don't try out so many things, right? Um,
Mm,
the things that are working the best right now in our business are the things that we did 10 years ago. And so if I would have just told myself that, I would have spent more time on making those things better, right? So when you find something that works, the best way to help more people and to boost your profitability in your business is just to do that thing at a higher level, which means communicate better about it in terms of your marketing and advertising, communicate better about it in terms of your selling, provide better service in your delivery, provide a better way for people to refer and get more customers, and just refine, refine, refine. Go from 85% to 90 to 95% excellence on all of the aspects of that good thing that you do, instead of saying, well, it works pretty good. I'm gonna try something else, and that might work pretty good. And I'm gonna try something else that'll work pretty. And then you have lots of okay things. You're kind of
hmm.
dabbling in a bunch of things. And if I would have given myself better advice 10 years ago, it would say, hey, these three things are working. Just do them better. I know they're at 85%, but you could probably get them to 98% if you just took the focus in it. So I think that as entrepreneurs, we're always looking for big wins, innovations, ways to break through. And a lot of times, the way to break through and to innovate is to keep doing what you're doing, but just try to do it at a higher level, try to do it at a better intensity, right? I was, Sam Carpenter and I were on the phone and we were talking about Tony Robbins. And it's like, he's still doing these live events. He's not like, well, maybe I'll, do something different. It's no, it's but doing it unlike anyone else can do it. And I think that's probably the other third piece of advice is that to differentiate yourself in this world, and it's a worldwide competition now at this point, um, you got to be the best in the world at it. So to be the best in the world at something, you're going to have to do it a lot of times,
Hmm.
and you have to do it with increasing intensity and focus. And that might not be your personality trait; it's not mine, but that is what it takes. And so be willing to be disciplined enough to stick to it, as opposed to thinking, well, there must be an easier way or a different thing, or I'm seeing someone do something different, I'm going to try that. That's going to dilute all your efforts, and then you can't be the best at that one thing. So I would say those are probably three good nuggets off the cuff that probably would have helped save me a lot of time
And I
and
can't
money.
imagine what you'd have come up with if I'd have given you a half an hour to come up. I mean, those three great points that you just shared with us off the cuff. I mean, I think maybe you'd have written a short book and we could have, doubled down on. But I love the third point, especially when you're talking about, to be the best in the world, you actually have to niche down. You're not the best in the world at a broad range of things. I mean, you're the best in the world at, or you're the best in class at a certain thing. I mean, I love the way that you kind of frame that. But I want to ask you one other question about kind of your business model, kind of when you went out on your own. Is WTS Enterprises, is that a rev share? Is it a licensing model? Is it you pay me a flat fee and you become a certified consultant, then you just kind of go out on your own? How did you build your business?
Mhm. Yeah, well, this was perfect example of experimentation. So we've been taking people through over 1,000 at this point through our courses and teaching them the work system method. And we just put out a message and say, hey, does anyone want to get certified in this? Where, we're just going to give you like a little seal and say, hey, certified. And we had a bunch of people respond. And we're like, okay, well, if you get certified, what do you want? What do you want? What are you going to do with it? And some were like, I want to be consultants. Some say, I just like to get certifications. A lot of people just like certifications. And so we started to gather up some information. And then I taught them all this material. And then I said, you know what? I think you all want more support, so you can apply this to your psychology practice or your dental office or whatever, you're a consultant. And we just started meeting every Fridays, and I would just gather information. And what we realized is that some people like just training; they just like to get educated. And then there's other people who they actually want to be consultants. And then we basically said, we're just going to work with the consultants, the ones who actually want to go out there and be consultants. And so once we made that shift a couple of years ago, we said, well, what are all the tools that a consultant needs? The contracts, the proposals, the licensed presentations that we can give them, all the different tools, valuation tools, you name it, anything that I've used as a coach or consultant, I want to give to them. And so once we built that whole library up and all those trainings so they can be a good consultant and make the biggest impact, we realized that, okay, what do consultants need? Well, they need clients. And that consists of us teaching them how to get clients, but also giving them clients. And so what we do is we actually give them clients. So anybody who buys one of our products, they work with someone who's certified. So we just pay them. So to clarify, all of our consultants are independent. They all have their own business.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we get a client at work the system or WTS Enterprises, we say, hey, here's our roster of coaches or consultants you want to work with. They work with one of those people, and then we pay that person. So we'll pay that person to work with a particular client. And so the certified folks, they get their own clients, and we give them clients. And when we give them clients, we will pay them to work with the clients as a coach or consultant. And so once they are licensed, they can, certified, they can use all of our materials, and that kind of helps them just hit the ground running. And then we mentor them. We meet with them every Fridays. Right before this call, we meet with them and we kind of spitball about ideas. We have them come to our annual event and facilitate the annual event so they can get clients. So we can do whatever we get them on a podcast, we get them on our website. We try to really help them kick off their career, and anything that I wish I had when I was a consultant starting off, we give them, give them credibility, give them tools, give them leads, give them clients. And it's worked out really well. I experiment, I think, well, I'm pretty good at consulting, but I wonder how these people will do.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. And they're better than me. They're more patient, they're more diligent, they're more focused. They do really good work. And so that was kind of the exciting experiment for me was, would these certified consultants be able to have the impact that I used to have with my clients? And I'm finding that it's even better. Like they're actually cranking out more processes, more procedures, and they're doing it in a really thoughtful way. And so it's really exciting to me because they all have their own industry experience. And so it's just opened up a lot of doors for the brand and our expansion. So, our goal is, to get really big. and to help as many people as possible. And so they pay to get certified, and then once they're certified, they make all the money they can make with all the clients they can make. And then whenever we get a client, we hand it over and we pay them to work with the client. So they don't have to split anything with us. They don't have to give us a percentage. Um, uh, yeah, and that's the way the certification works.
Well, it's really an interesting approach. I've heard so many different models, of companies and service providers that are kind of in a similar space, and I think that is a unique, and it obviously is an effective, approach. And if I'm a consultant, I mean, I would probably really like that arrangement, kind of flat fee, and then I can use the system as I want to, and then when you have a client come to you, you can, I get a portion of that fee for providing those services. And I'm assuming most of it is over like Zoom at this stage, or are you talking about a lot of on-site consulting?
Well, whenever we give a client somebody, it's a Zoom. It's either consulting or coaching, where somebody bought a product somewhere in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get connected to the right consultant on our website. But for them, they're often finding clients locally. They wouldn't
Yeah.
have to, but they're often through a friend of a friend, through
Right.
church, through whatever, some business networking group, or maybe they're heavily involved in a certain industry. And then they just say, hey, everybody, I'm certified in this methodology that helps get all your systems and processes in order, and I think it's going to, you seem to be stuck in the day-to-day of your business. Wouldn't you like to grow it, open new locations, sell it one day? And they're having really good success in their warm market, just bringing something new that no one else does. Having the credibility and having the tools to fix it, so they can. I always share the example of this one gal who got certified. She's a Pilates instructor, and she went to a little Pilates small group meeting in her city, and just said, "Hey, yeah, I can, everybody who's really busy in their business, I can help you get organized so that you don't have to live there in the Pilates studio, and finally grow." And she gets 3 clients in one weekend, just talking to a few folks, and because everybody wants more business freedom, they just don't have a plan to get there.
Right.
So
Right.
it works.
Well, Josh, I really appreciate you taking time today as we kind of wrap up the weekend here, and I wrap up heading into the weekend here. Me sooner than you, because I'm a few hours ahead of you. But is there anything that we just haven't touched on? You just like to, real quickly, just kind of wrap up the chat, and then please tell people where the best place to find you online.
Sure. Yeah, I would say anything work the system related, or if you want to go to our website, WTSenterprises.com, WTS. And that's where you get a copy. We give away the summary of this book, right? So if you want to get this thing only 80% shorter, then we give away the summary for free. And the goal is to get that into the hands and the minds of as many people as possible, so they can have this awakening. And that'd probably be the main thing, is that you really can change your world. You really can raise your standards. You really can build something that can be 10 times bigger than it is right now. I'm not just saying that like it's some kind of feel-good dream. It really can mechanically be done, but you do need to know how to make it happen. And that's what we're all about. And I guess first thing is, don't lose hope if you're like stuck in your business right now, and then realize that in an instant, if you do see your world differently, we call it the systems mindset, you can make some of those things a reality. And so for all those frustrated entrepreneurs out there, there is hope. There is a way. You don't have to be Elon Musk. You don't need to have $1 million fall in your lap. There is a mechanical way to do that. And so if you're curious and you want more, WTSenterprises.com.
We will certainly have the link in the show notes, and specifically, if I could get a link to the book summary too, that might be good to include in those notes as well. But Josh, thanks again for just taking time. It's been great to kind of hear the backstory, and just as you walked us through the process, and what a great mentor moment you kind of laid on us there, kind of off the cuff, and one of the best we've probably ever had. But just thank you again for really just playing your part in helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Josh, have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Another episode in the books. We hope you heard some great takeaways. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on iTunes and YouTube. As always, thanks for listening to Rising Tide.